am a mess. Maybe I'm crazy. Maybe I'm out of my mind. But this pandemic has just made me want to bake all the time. And today on Trial by Fire Baking, we're making a coconut chocolate almond cake.
There's a lot going on in this recipe. For our coconut cake, we're using butter, sugar, eggs, cake flour, baking powder, coconut milk, and a little salt. Then for the dark chocolate mousse, we're using dark chocolate, eggs, sugar, a little butter, and some Malibu rum, that's a coconut liqueur. And then for the Swiss meringue buttercream, we're using eggs, butter, sugar, and a little coconut milk. And we'll use some toasted almonds and toasted coconut for garnish.
Okay, almond joy. I hate the candy bar. But I love all the components. Chocolate, almond, coconut. What could go wrong? So we're going to build a cake that's not too sweet and the texture's not too off-putting. I'm going to use my favorite coconut cake. You can see the Berry Patriotic Cake for that cake. And then we'll layer that with a dark chocolate mousse and cover it with Swiss meringue buttercream. This dark chocolate mousse comes together pretty quick and it is dangerously delicious. We will start by melting about a cup of dark chocolate chips. I've just got some water simmering on top of the stove and I put a metal bowl right on top of that. You could also use a glass bowl, and we'll just stir this around just until the chocolate melts. Once the chocolate has melted, I'm just going to add a tablespoon of butter and stir that around. And this is the part where you can get creative. Today, I'm going to add about a teaspoon of Malibu rum. That's a coconut flavored liqueur. But you could really add any liqueur. Amaretto would be fantastic, or Chambord would also be good. It's also good just plain with nothing added, but you got options. I'm also adding 2 egg yolks to the chocolate mixture. And while this cools, we will move over to the mixer and mix up the egg whites. The egg yolks are mixed in with the chocolate, and I'm just going to beat the egg whites to stiff peaks. Once the egg whites are nice and fluffy with stiff peaks, then we will add about a cup of heavy whipping cream to the mixer and whip that until it's light and fluffy. Okay, now we're ready to go. We will start by folding in the egg whites. Just fold those in gently to keep as much air as possible. Once the egg whites are folded in, we will go in with that heavy whipping cream and just fold that in as well. I'm not a big fan of buttercream. I think it's too sweet and a little greasy tasting, but I found this Swiss meringue buttercream that is a little more effort, but totally worth it. It is fluffy and perfect and just dreamy. Anyway, I've got the bowl of my stand mixer that I've added 6 egg whites, and I've got a candy thermometer here on the edge, and I'm going to add a cup and a half of sugar. I know it sounds like a lot, but this makes a ton of frosting and it keeps really well. So we're just going to whisk this mixture together for about 6 minutes. We're just looking for 120 degrees on the candy thermometer. Did I mention the simmering water? Yeah, I've got about 1 inch of water simmering in a pan, and we just put the stand mixer bowl on top of that water. Make sure the bottom of the bowl doesn't touch the water. Once the eggs are nice and fluffy, I'll move them to the stand mixer and we'll whip them on high speed just until it's cool to the touch. Once the eggs have cooled a bit, I've got 3 sticks of butter that I've just cut into little this big pieces, and I'm just gonna go back on a low speed and add these a couple at a time until all of the butter is incorporated into the eggs. It may look curdled in the beginning. Just keep whisking until it's nice and shiny and smooth. Once all of the butter has mixed in and we've got a nice shiny frosting, we'll add just a pinch of salt, and then I've got 2/3 of a cup of coconut milk that I've added some vanilla extract to, and we will just mix this in. And the same deal. It may look curdled to start with. Just keep mixing, it'll smooth out. And that's it. A gorgeous, silky smooth frosting that's not greasy at all. It's really beautiful. Let's build a cake. We'll start with 1 layer of cake, and we'll add some of that mousse right in the center, and repeat. More mousse, just adding a layer of frosting around the outside edge of the cake. This one doesn't really have to be neat. We really just want to get a base layer. And we're ready for the fridge. We'll refrigerate this cake for about an hour. Once we have our chilled crumb-coated cake out of the fridge, we will just top it with more buttercream. Now that the cake is totally covered, I'm just going to go around with a cake comb just to give it a pretty finish. And I've just toasted some almonds and some coconut, and we're just going to go around the bottom edge of the cake. For the last touch, I've got some chocolate ganache here. That's just equal parts dark chocolate and cream melted together gently. And I'm just going to pour it on top of the cake. I'm just coaxing a little of that chocolate ganache down the sides. We don't want a ton of drippage, but a little looks pretty. Well, I'm a convert. That is my new favorite layer cake. I mean, the coconut cake is my favorite cake, but that dark chocolate mousse, if you don't do anything else, make that mousse. It's easy and delicious. See you next time.